computer. So welcome everyone to our student leadership group meeting. This is our second meeting, and today we're going to focus on effective communication, teamwork, and time management, which are some leadership qualities that I think everyone should be aware of and should have, especially for our group if you guys are going to be leading as part of the student leadership group. So to get started, we're going to be talking about, again, effective communication, teamwork, and time management. So to get started with effective communication, I think it's very important for you guys to first understand what communication is and how it works. So the communication process refers to a series of actions or steps taken in order to successfully communicate. So there's a couple elements within this communication process. First, there's the sender. The sender then basically produces or encodes the message they're trying to send. They send it through a channel. A channel can be anything like voice, so actually speaking or saying something, can be audio, like a recording, a video, a writing, like an email, a letter, or it can be body language or nonverbal cues. So that's a channel. When we think about channels, we're also thinking about like the media, right? Newspapers, like radio, and other types of media that we are normally like familiar with. Those are all channels. They're all ways of communicating. After the message goes through the channel, it's then decoded or interpreted by the receiver. Now, to be effective, the sender must not only choose the appropriate medium or channel or method to communicate the message, but must overcome communication noise that creates communication barriers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what communication noise is. And again, the reason why we are talking about this is because communication is very important, not only in for your professional career, but also for school and in your daily lives. So it's important for you guys to understand how communication works. And it is a pretty complex process. There's a lot of things that do affect communication. That's what we're going to talk about next. So when we refer to noise, we're referring to anything that interferes with the communication process. So here's 4 different types of noises that we normally talk about when we talk about communication. So one of them being environmental noise. So the noises that you hear, like the sounds, music, traffic, construction, or even other conversations can affect our ability to actually interpret or even send a message. Often we get distracted, we hear something like a siren, our attention just goes to the siren, and we don't pay attention to what's going on in front of us or what people are saying to us. So that's environmental noise. Physiological noise is anything like an illness or headache, hearing, maybe vision loss, or anything that impairs a receiver's ability to decode a message or interpret the message. And then there's psychological being beliefs, values, attitudes, perceptions, your mental state. The psychological noise plays a huge role in the communication process. Oftentimes we all think very differently. We come from different cultures. We grow up in different types of family structures. And because of all those things, including our experiences and our education, the way we think, our values and attitudes towards certain things differ. So it's very important to understand that when we are communicating, the way I interpret something may be different than how you interpret it based on my experiences, my beliefs, my attitudes, and the perception of the situation. So that's very important to note, because when you are communicating, especially when you are leading someone, you're going to have to remember that that person might not interpret your message the same way as you would. For example, a lot of you guys are ESL students. You guys have a different language, different cultures, different perceptions of what different things may mean, such as like the color, right? Colors may mean something different in a different culture. Because of that, if I'm going to send a message, I have to be aware of, how my message might come off. Will it offend you? Does it make sense? I have to be aware if I want to be an effective communicator. The last one here is semantic. So the differences in the meaning of words, so this is jargon, euphemisms and word usage. That happens a lot, especially when we're communicating with different people. The differences in the meaning tends to be kind of an issue that we have to overcome. But the reason why I want you guys to learn about these types of noises within the communication process, so you can remember that when we are communicating with others, we have to be aware that there are these differences or other things that can be affecting their ability to understand or interpret your message, even your ability to communicate as well. And I think once you understand that and you remember that, it's going to be easier for you guys to form relationships and to work as a team. So being able to communicate is just a skill that is going to take you a long ways in your career and in your daily lives. So here are just some tips on how to be more effective more effective communicators. So there are 7 C's to effective communication, which is being concise. So being straight to the point, being complete, including necessary information. So all the information to make a message clear. Coherent, being clear, courteous, meaning being respectful, concrete, specific, and correct, meaning being factual, not presenting false information. But these are the 7 C's of effective communication. Other things is combining verbal and nonverbal communication. Visuals can help, especially if you're communicating with someone else. For example, another person who may speak a different language, right? They may need more of a visual cue, or maybe they want something written because it helps them to understand the information a little bit more. Another thing is don't just hear, listen. Oftentimes, sometimes we're listening to we think we're listening, but really we're just hearing, we're not paying attention, right, to what it's saying. For example, when we listen to music, sometimes we're just hearing the tune, but we're not actually listening to what the words are saying. So it's important to listen when you are communicating with someone else. Now, asking questions is also important in the communication process, making sure that other person understands what you're saying, and also asking questions for you to kind of clarify, your interpretation of their message to you. So it's important to ask the questions and always keep it professionally. When in doubt, keep it professional. Refrain from gossip, avoid being too personal, avoid discussing controversial topics, offer positive feedback, and handle conflicts with maturity. So when you're communicating with other people, especially at work, you want to keep it professional. It's best to do that. Now, that was communication, and then we're going to move forward to teamwork. I know it's very, very fast, but like I mentioned, we only have 30 minutes for this part of the presentation, and then we're going to go and work as a group on our project. But this is the next topic that I kind of want to mention, which is teamwork. So what is a team? So a team is defined as 2 or more individuals interacting dynamically, interdependently, and adaptively toward a common goal. So it's a common goal they're working towards. They work with each other, having a specific role to fill within the boundary of the team. So it's a common goal, and everyone has a role within the team to make sure that that goal is being met. And that's what we're doing today is we're going to work as a team to make sure that our goal is met. All right, so how to build a successful team. So I'm including this information because I think it's important for you guys to see the process that we're going to take to build this successful team. The first step is developing a mission, which we kind of did by setting kind of a goal, what a purpose of our team is and what we want to do. The second step would be, which I just mentioned, setting the goals. SMART goals is one way to set goals, which helps the team to basically get things accomplished and get it kind of organized and get the goals evaluated. So the third would be define the role and responsibility. So everyone in the team has a role, everyone has a responsibility that they have to meet within the team. Sending ground rules. What I mean by ground rules is basic things like making sure you attend the meetings, making sure you're on time, making sure you meet the deadlines, and being respectful of others. So those are ground rules. Decision making, how do we make decisions? We make decisions as a team. Is it a majority, or is it that everyone has to approve it, right? And then the sixth part would be effective group process, and we'll be talking a little bit about that. So for effective group process or behaviors, in order for a group or a team to be a little bit more effective, you have to have effective communication, which we talked about a little bit, mutual accountability. So being responsible for your actions, being responsible for your own things, right? Mutual accountability, self-evaluation, respect, which is very important, the commitment, the trust, within the team, the encouragement, support of other team members. Oftentimes what's going to happen when you work in a team, maybe someone isn't going to be going through a hard time. It is kind of overwhelming to be in a team sometimes, especially at work when you have multiple projects, you have family at home, you're going through school. There's a lot of things going on, but maintaining that encouragement and support amongst each other is very important within the team. Being flexible and adaptable, because you never know what's going to happen. Things come up. You saw last year with COVID, suddenly everything changes. We're online and we're back, in class. We have kids at home. There's so many things that can happen, but just having a flexible mind and being able to adapt is good. And then staying engaged and being positive at all times. Remember, when it comes to at least our group, the goal of our group is really to work with each other to help us kind of build skills that can help us at work or school, and meet our goals. So really, everything that we're doing here is supposed to be good for you. So, we're going to try to be as positive as possible throughout this entire process. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is time management. All right, so for time management, I know that, like I mentioned, a lot of you are in school, some of you have jobs, you have kids at home, you have other responsibilities, so it's a lot of work. Some of you are studying for your test, right? Your high salary GED, or your if you're in pharmacy tech, allied health, or other types of programs, even ESL. There's a lot of work, I understand. So I just wanted to give you guys some just general tips on time management. But thanks to Priyanka, she wasn't able to be here today. She's our social worker intern, but she helped put this presentation together. And some of the tips are, first, to figure out how you're actually spending your time. So what is it that you're doing, or what is it that you need to do? Plan long-term and short-term goals. So something that I like to do that I highly recommend you guys to do is plan your long-term goal first, and then based on that long-term goal, what are little steps that you can take in order to accomplish that right goal? For example, with the high school equivalency, HiSET or GED, there's 5 tests that are required, which are often the math, the English, social science, the science, and the writing. So, setting the long-term goal will be to complete your HiSET, get your high school equivalency, and the short-term goals would be to first take, each test. So within the short-term goals, there's even more little goals, right? First, I need to study, focus on learning fractions. First, I need to learn how to do this algebra, right? So there's little steps. So start off with your long-term goals. Then based on the long-term goals, what are the short-term goals that you need to take or accomplish in order to meet that long-term goal? I know it's a little bit of work, but once you have those goals and you have these short-term goals, it actually makes the process a lot easier, and it helps you kind of stay on track. So based on those goals, and you prioritize, based on importance and urgency. And this is not just, for your educations, for anything you do in your life, you're going to prioritize based on importance and urgency. You would group similar tasks together. You create a timeline and assign time limits, deadlines to tasks using your calendar or to-do list. And this is kind of important because it gives you something to work towards. For example, if you know your test is next week, then you have like 3 chapters that you have to review for that test that's next week, then maybe today my focus is going to be to review chapter 1 and do some practice questions. Tomorrow it's going to be 2 and some practice questions. The next day would be 3 practice questions, and the 4th day would be just a journal review, so I can make sure that I'm ready for the exam, right? But having this timeline and time limits will help you to kind of stay on track. And then creating a daily schedule and sticking with it. In the morning, when you wake up, if just create quickly what you want to do, what you need to accomplish today. Include your personal stuff too, so that you can manage your time effectively. Learn to say no. Learn how to say no. It's very, very difficult. However, there's some things that you may have to say no to because your priority is to finish this or finish that, right? So learning how to say no when it's not important is very important. It is really important in time management. Eliminating distractions, so like social media, your phone. I know we have habits. I know that we all love to be on Facebook, we like to be on Instagram, we like to communicate with our friends and family all the time, but you have to set kind of a time for yourself to do certain things and keep those distractions away. That way you can get it done. And then getting organized. So I will talk a little bit about organization in the next slide, but these are some time management tips that hopefully will help you. Now, in terms of organization, it said that if you are organized, it can help you to stay focused and on track, improve productivity and efficiency, and reduce stress. So if you're organized, that can help with the stress, can help you feel less overwhelmed. So, it's important to stay organized. But this is an open discussion right now, but out of curiosity, how do you guys stay organized? Do you guys have any tips for other students on how you stay organized, or what do you guys do in your daily lives to stay organized? You can unmute yourself if you need to. No one who wants to give any tips on how they stay organized?
Hi, Liliana. I can share a little bit.
Mhm.
So basically, I like to take a lot of classes at once. And so what works for me is having one small, not a big notebook, having like a small notebook, because I like to carry my notebook everywhere with me, something that fits in my purse. And then having different tabs where I just, instead of having like ideas floating in my head and those ideas driving me crazy, I have a place where I capture all my ideas and I organize it, but like ideas for my home, ideas for the class I'm taking. And then that way I can always refer back if I want to expand on that idea. Because for me, sometimes I just keep thinking about the ideas over and over again. And once I put it on paper, that helps me to have more time to think about other things. So that's it. So just having a notebook where I capture my ideas and I section that notebook out into like whatever subjects. So for example, like you mentioned the high set. So if you're studying for the high set and maybe you're planning to take the reading and the science, you can have like a section just for reading and a section just for writing, where you're writing down, for example, what you're learning and reading. Where you're like, maybe you're taking a practice test and you're timing yourself, like how long did it take you and what's your goal. In science, any important terms that you need to know and important vocabulary. And that way, like if you're on the train or if you're waiting at the doctor's office, you can have that little notebook handy and review stuff.
Thank you, Veronica. Anyone else has any tips or want to share how you stay organized? No, I think you guys are a little.
I typed some in the chat just because I don't want my toddler to like randomly cry.
Okay.
while I'm like speaking.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, I see. Characterize everything. Yes, list and characterize everything. That is a good tip. Anyone else want to share? It's a shy group today. Let me give you guys some tips too. So staying organized, creating your list, putting your having a notebook for your ideas, for your notes is great. You can also stay organized by simply by just keeping your files organized, keeping anything organized. So this is what I mean. So for example, when it comes to school, right? We often have a lot of files on our computer. We often have a lot of emails, right? So one way you can stay organized is by, like Ophelia said, characterizing everything, having those special folders specifically for school, for your personal life, for work. I mean, if you have a work email, you're going to keep those documents in your work, obviously in your work account, but maybe within work, you work on different projects, like, Veronica and we work on, Veronica's the counselor, I'm the career coordinator. I work with students to help you guys find jobs, but then I also do the marketing. I also do the student leadership group. So having different folders, characterizing my emails, organizing my files by the topic, it really does help, because then you can easily find it and you're not scrambling around to find things when you really need them. Creating those to-do lists and scheduling your task is very important as well. And then one thing, a little tip that I think is very helpful is always preparing for the next day, a day before, or preparing, for example, preparing your schedule for Monday on a Friday. One of the things that I think kind of often, is difficult for people is balancing that work, kind of work, school, and life, right? It's very difficult because, sometimes you don't know how to shut yourself from work. You're always thinking about work. What am I going to do? What do I need to do? One of the ways you could do that is, I mean, one of the ways I find kind of helpful, is by preparing myself. Like, what I do is on a Friday, at the end of the day, the last 30 minutes of my day, I basically kind of think about what did I accomplish this week, what do I need to do, and then I write it down. That way, when I come on Monday, I'm not stressing out about, like, what did I do? Did I not finish that? I know exactly what I need to do for that week, and I'm prepared, and all I have to do is just move forward. So that's a little tip. But there's other ways to stay organized, obviously. And we hope that you guys will kind of share within the team. Now, that is the presentation itself, but don't leave yet. Um, Here is the student support services team. This is our email. So if you guys do need any help or want to learn a little bit more about the communication, want to learn a little bit more about time management, organization, and teamwork, we're more than happy to help you. We also have our social worker, intern Priyanka, who will actually be reaching out to the board to provide a little bit more assistance in helping you guys accomplish your personal goals, but also helping you guys accomplish the goals for this particular group. All right. So I will be stopping the recording for now, and then we're going to start our student leadership group meeting.